Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com. Once you've landed on our webpage, there are links to our Facebook page, Baby Boomer Tales, links to places you can listen to our podcast, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and many more. Social media links besides Facebook. There's LinkedIn and X. Some of you may still call it Twitter. Places where you can buy Baby Boomer Tales merchandise, and our portal into Amazon.com, where you can see things we recommend. It's a great way to shop through Amazon. How are you doing today? Happy December. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? The days are getting shorter and shorter, and the nights are getting colder, and winter's on its way. About 3 more weeks, I guess. I kind of like winter. I saw on Facebook a friend of mine who now lives in Arizona was saying how she doesn't miss the cold, and she had put something about Vermont where she used to live and compared it to the Arizona climate and temperatures. And it made me think that around here in northeast Kansas, it gets so blazing hot in the summer, and I have so much work to do outside all the time. I talk about that periodically or almost constantly, that I welcome winter. I welcome just sitting on my butt, making a fire in the fireplace, watching it snow outside. And I'm in a position that if it snows and it gets snowed in, it's no big deal. In fact, it's great. I like that. We don't get much snow, but when we do, we can get some. And we can get blizzard conditions. You know, we're out on the edge of the plains. It's funny, around here, the Great Plains are to our west, and the Ozark Mountains are to our south. And we're just kind of in hilly type country that's got a lot of beautiful vegetation, a lot of beautiful bushes, flowers, and trees. It really is a nice part of the country, I do believe. But on our website, you can see where I came from in north central Colorado Rocky Mountains. And that's very, very beautiful also. So the 2 places I've lived the longest, I think, are some of the most beautiful places I've ever even visited. But I just kind of lean towards that anyway. I'm sure wherever you live, it's beautiful too. I mean, there's oceans, there's deserts, there's hills and mountains and woods and lakes and rivers in this great country of ours, the United States of America. It is a very pretty country. It really is. I want to talk about hoops a little bit. Hoops have been around for almost ever. They've found traces of hoops clear back to 500 BC. I'm sure they're about as old as the first tools ever invented by man. You think about it, the wheel's kind of a hoop. You ever see that game they played in the early 1900s where kids would roll a hoop, either made out of metal or wood? They'd use a stick and they'd roll it. And the hoop wasn't very thick or heavy or anything, and so it was a children's toy. They'd walk down the street rolling this hoop. Native Americans have a storytelling that they call a hoop dance. I love Native American culture, I do. Hoops can be made out of branches or grasses or wood or metal. There's all different kinds of hoops. Let's go play some hoops. That's basketball. You shoot it to the hoop, play little hoops. There's hoop earrings. When my wife was younger, she used to wear those suckers. I've never been big on earrings, either for women or men. Won't get into that right now, but I just didn't like those big hoop earrings. Remember those? I guess people still wear them. Anything could be classified a hoop. As I was looking at this, those things that when you play croquet and you hit the ball through the little hoop in the ground, I think the English call those hoops. I would call it a goal or something. I don't know what I would call it. We used to have croquet set up around here for parties and stuff. That whole set just sits in the barn anymore. In the late 1950s, my Aunt Connie and I, now let me explain this one more time. If you're a long-time listener, you know who Connie is. She's my aunt who is 5 months younger than me. My mom and my grandma were basically pregnant together at the same time. Well, Connie and I were kind of raised like brother and sister when we were young. My brother that's closest to me in age is 3.5 years younger than me, and that's quite a bit when you're a little kid. So right in the late 50s, Connie got a hula hoop, and she could just make that thing just go round and round and round. She kind of move her hips and move her stomach and keep her feet in one place, and got so she could even walk and hula hoop and all that stuff. I tried it and I couldn't do it. It'd go around 2 or 3 times and fall to the ground. My cousin Bonnie came over one time, I remember, to Connie's house, and she could do 2 of them. I think Connie could too, and they could make them go kind of up their stomach and then back down around their hips and just go and go and go. And I found that fascinating, and I could not do it. I couldn't. Now, I was athletic. I was, even at 8 or 9 years old. I was playing ball and all that stuff. But I couldn't do that hula hoop. Maybe that has something to do with my rhythm and my ability to not dance. Is not dancing an ability you have? I hate to call it a disability, but I can't dance, I have no rhythm, and I think it's harder for the male species to do a hula hoop than it is for the female species. It's kind of like things Kim could, I don't know if she still can, she's getting a little long in the tooth, but she used to be able to just bend over and put her palms on the floor without bending her knees. I try to do that, and I can get down, or I used to be able to, about mid-calf, hit my shin bone. That's all the further I could go. Even when I was a high school kid playing football, and you do stretches and stuff before practice actually starts, and loosen up and all that stuff. And that was one thing, we were supposed to go down and touch our toes. I could never get that far. But Kim could just bend over. There's a trick girls can play. I think I first saw it on All in the Family, where you put a chair down and you walk up to it with the back on your left side and where you sit on your right, and it's against the wall, and you put your head against the wall and your feet flat on the floor, and you bend over, pick the chair up like a dining room chair, and then you stand straight up holding the chair. And women can do it, and men cannot do that trick. So women are made different in a way they can do things with their body which a male cannot. At least not me. That hula hoop was quite a craze in the late 50s, but then the craze kind of stopped, and whammo was stuck with hundreds of thousands of hula hoops. Now they're still around today. I saw one gal last year on America's Got Talent did a Guinness's World Record of spinning a hula hoop, and so they showed her at start, and she did it for over an hour or hour and a half or something without stopping. But what she did is she bent over and she started it like around her butt, not around her waist. Around her butt as she was bent over in a 90-degree angle, and just kind of had it going. That looked very uncomfortable. I don't know how she stayed in that position for so long, but she made the world record, and it was on TV, and they'd show her, then go back to some other act doing something, then show her again. That'd been pretty boring to just watch her do that for an hour and a half. You can see people, even males and females, balancing things and doing a hula hoop at the same time and doing all these tricks and stuff. The coolest thing I ever saw was Amy Grant. We went to one of her concerts. Amy Grant, married to Vince Gill. Very great singer, wonderful entertainer, strong values as a person, and her and Vince have a good life in Tennessee. But I was at one of her concerts, and she was some kind of a hula hoop champion, probably from when she was younger. And she could spin, 10 or 12 of those suckers at one time. It was amazing. It was fun to watch. The hula hoop. Well, we don't have any hula hoops around here. We do not. The other thing I want to talk to you about today, and I was just going to make a podcast about that, but I decided to put the hula hoops in there also. When Kim and I were first married, we bought a little house after about the first year or so of marriage. And it was a little one-bedroom house. And so we decided to make the garage into a couple bedrooms and a laundry room and take out the wall for the bedroom and make it all one big living space. And during the time when we were getting ready to move into that house, Kim had our second kid, Allie, and a few months later, we were sleeping on that couch. It was a couch that you pulled out, and it was a sleeper sofa or something, but there's a bar that ran through right where it hit me in the back. Very uncomfortable. So every night, we would pull it out, take the mattress off, put the frame back in the couch, and sleep on the floor on that mattress. Our garage was not done yet, so we just lived in where the bedroom was, but it was part of the living room by then. Well, about 4 or 5 months after Allie was born, Kim and I decided that I should have a vasectomy. I went along with it, or maybe it was even my idea, because I didn't want to have 6 or 7 girls trying to have a little boy. We had 2 little girls, and I was happy with them. And so I made an appointment to go down to the docks and get a vasectomy. I knew what it was, and I knew what I was getting into, and I knew there would be no more children if I did that, and that was okay. Well, next thing I know, Kim bought some airplane tickets. I don't know, she had 2 little girls. I mean, our girls were 13 months apart. And she said, I'm going to go see my mother. When you're done with that vasectomy, you call me, and I will come home. She made everything. She bought groceries. Everything was there. Everything was by the bed, all that stuff. And so I went down and I got the vasectomy. And the hardest part of this whole deal, now some of you might say, that awful woman, well, how mean is that? She should nurse you back to health. Well, you have to remember, we were young and dumb. But the worst part of it was, after the vasectomy, I had to go to the drugstore and get some kind of antibiotic or medicine or pain relief or something. You know, it's been 44 years ago now. But when I walked into the drugstore, I felt like I was walking with my knees together. The vasectomy itself was painless, and the doctor gave me some kind of newspaper back then to read some article about some old-timey baseball player, and he was yakking the whole time, and it was painless. By the time I got to the drugstore, I was feeling a little rummy and wasn't very comfortable, and walking with my knees together and thinking Kim should be here at this drugstore getting this stuff. I had to wait for it, of course, because I just took a prescription, in a paper prescription. You know how they used to write those? Finally, Bob or Louie or Dwight filled the prescription there at the drugstore. And I got myself home, got myself into my pickup truck and drove home and hung out on that bed on the floor for about 3 days. Now, I did call Kim, and she says, well, I'll make a reservation right now. And it was about 3 days before she got home. Closest thing I can say that my experience with vasectomy is, I used to neuter my dogs and my cats. There's a great TV show, it's either on Hulu or Disney Channel, called Dr. Oakley, Yukon Vet. And she drives all over the Yukon and parts of Alaska. And one of her main jobs, it happens almost every show, is she neuters some wild animal that's in a rescue place or something. Sometimes it's a horse or a cow, you know. But she castrates them. If she doesn't do that at least once a show, I feel like I've been shortchanged. It's a great show. She's a wonderful vet, it appears. We've been watching this show for season after season after season, and it is pretty good. You ought to give it a try. Dr. Oakley, Yukon Vet. Well, I'm all better now. My little girls are all grown up and have families of their own. Sometimes I think that maybe we should have had more children. But, you can't go and undo what you did. A lot of people joked with me about shooting blanks and all that stuff, and that's okay. I think that for that time in our life, that was the thing I should have done. I can't even remember the doctor that did it. I think that the regular doc up there had left or something, and it was a doctor that was just filling in until they could refill that position. Missed a couple days work, but then I went back to work, and I didn't feel like my knees were together. My wife came home, and we've been happily married for almost 49 years now. Have a bunch of grandchildren. Life is good. We're blessed. So if you thought that I was going to hula hoop while I was getting a vasectomy, well, that's not even doable. I can't hula hoop at all. If you like this podcast, you might try episode 113. It's from March 2021. It's called How I Met Your Grandmother. Always be kind. It's really the very best thing you can do for your soul. I'll be back next Wednesday. Oh, and by the way, I do know the difference between being neutered and having a vasectomy. Peace out.